Hey everyone, it's the Washing Up presents the Dishwasher Chronicles. It's Chris and I am here with TT and we're not even going to try to make this fancy. We're not even going to bother.
They didn't. Why should we?
How are we going, first of all? Now, you need to explain to the audience your week.
Oh, well, look, for today has been a week in and of itself, but it's been a week where we had discussed on Sunday that I would be doing this week.
Yes.
And I had every intention of then watching MasterChef from Sunday onwards. Don't laugh at me. And then my life got in the way. And as the week got further on, I kept losing track of how much I had to watch. And every time I went, I'll get on 10 Play now and watch some, I'd get like 5 banks of ads in the space of 3 minutes of content, and I'd rage quit.
But it's really good
rage quit.
Because as Khan will tell you, light and easy is fantastic. And
light and easy is amazing, but you don't actually get the light and easy ads on 10 Play.
No, you get my shit husband.
Yeah, my shit husband is shit.
At this point in time, that's what it's called.
We've completely lost the plot. So, and then tonight I was like, I'll get home and I'll watch like 15 minutes of each one. And then I got a flat tire on my way home after my very late job because I work in media. And so I got home with 12 minutes to spare to have a shower and order some dinner in. So I had Domino's while I watched MasterChef tonight.
Now, I've been, was it flame inspired though? Or did you get smoky flavors? Because, nobody in there did, so why should you? But so it was really interesting because like I was checking in, just a bit of backstory from me. I was checking in all week because I knew how hectic TT's life was this week. I kept on, you going to be okay? Yeah, we got this. Next time, you going to be okay? Well, we got this. Got to tonight. I finally come to terms with the fact I'm not going to get to go back and see the ones I missed. That was, by the way, as the episode was playing. Furthermore, I do have to give one more bit of context here, and I don't care if you like it or not, which is last night, we settle in, we start live tweeting, everything's going really well. I'm looking at the live tweets going, why the fuck is TT talking about chocolate? Why is she talking? That was last night. Why is she talking about chocolate? And I let her go for 3 or 4 tweets, and I sent her a message, and I let it go a little bit longer. And then I got another message going, I'm that tired. I didn't realize that I didn't hit live. I just hit play on 10 Play. And I was watching last night's episode. It's been a week.
I had a really good hot take on Andy's outfit. And so I got to double down and punch down on Andy's outfits twice in the space of half an hour.
I think my comment on the outfits this week, I think, can be summed up. I think it was last night's outfits. When I commented that Jock looks like he's auditioning for Doctor Who and Andy looks like he's about to be remanded in custody. They were very much, those were the vibes. And then Mel is just Mel.
Mel's glorious. But she did start off the week with red shoes. I have seen bits and pieces amongst the ads. She started off with shoes so red that I thought she was going to click her heels 3 times and get the fuck out of there.
I mean, might be trying. I mean, clicks her heels 3 times, ends up back on Chef's line. But this week is weird because we've been trying to find the good. Last week when I was doing all the Insta rather than the podcast, we did the Insta and we were talking about finding the good. And I never thought I'd find a week where I thought that the highlight was Kirsten Tibbles because they've misused Kirsten Tibbles so badly over the years. And she was actually suited to the masterclass part of this in terms of actual instruction because she's talented and it's good. But the problem was that with the Kirsten Tibbles stuff was that it was all fancy and flash and it wasn't about flavor, which was a bit of a problem for poor Therese, and I'll come to that in a moment. And this is the thing, like we're dealing with like some of the biggest thing to happen in the series happened in the middle of this week. And it's not even the biggest ranting point. And I thought for sure in the middle of this week that all this podcast was going to be about was Therese taking a pin home. And it's going to take up a fair bit of it. But I need to double down before I go to Tibbles, before I go to what happened to Therese. We need to talk about Pete. And we need to talk about Pete tonight and whatever the hell clean cut Nat's what I reckon was.
Well, what did I call him last night? Pete's what I suspect.
Yes, Pete's
which
what
seems like clean cuts, and that's what I reckon.
Yes, Pete's what I suspect. First of all, I'm quite sure he's got his own channel on YouTube where he just talks people to sleep calmly.
Yeah, he's so. Someone said tonight that they reckon that the music drops him a bit when he speaks, and I reckon they might be right.
I felt that energy tonight.
But yeah, no, I felt that energy right up until the point where he said he was barbecuing lettuce, and then I wanted to yeet Pete into the goddamn sun.
Don't pick on the lettuce. It had a smoky element to it, which is more than we can say for most of the rest of the dish. My question to you, and my question to Twitter tonight, and everyone's question on Twitter tonight was, so let me get this straight. You take the potato, you decide to do the potato on the fire to get the smokiness in it. You then cut the potato up and puree it and put eucalyptus through it. Why?
I'm very, very sad about that potato. As someone else who has cooked a baked potato on a fire this week, that potato actually broke my goddamn heart.
The other one was, he suggested that it might be a bit grainy if he put the nuts through it, and then proceeded to put the nuts through it, at which point they told him it was very grainy.
That was his plan at the beginning, and he was sticking with it. And who knew that giant potatoes and tiny hazelnuts would have different cooking times, Chris? Not I.
It was more the point where the hazelnuts went on the fire, caught fire immediately, and he's like, I wasn't aware they could get. It's a nut with oil in it. What were you expecting?
It's basically a very expensive fire lighter, Pete. God bless you. He's pretty. He is so pretty.
Am I the only person who thought that tonight was a challenge where we had 4 people who were terrified of fire?
Yeah.
Like they did.
Three people who were terrified of fire, and Scott, who we haven't gotten to know well enough to know what his reactions are like, because it was nice of him to join us this week.
Yeah, I thought, look, Scott did a really nice job of coming in halfway through. Obviously, he was a bit busy in the first couple of weeks. He had other things to do.
Good intruder to have.
Yeah, look, it was nice. And I mean, I don't know if was he an intruder or was he staying on another island, given that tonight was Survivor?
Yeah. Totally.
And the pyro has to have been saved from last year's Survivor that couldn't happen with COVID, so they had to save it. What was the pyro was ridiculous. It's a fire challenge. No, we don't need pyro. You've got flames.
Yeah. No, it was. Tonight was weird. I don't know what to do with tonight.
Tonight's the night I think that has broken a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because I think we've all been trying really hard to give everything the benefit of the doubt. And there's been it might be the editing, it could be just the challenges don't necessarily suit, there's a range of issues possibly popping up. We don't see the full thing, and we don't. But tonight, cooking on fire, and there were people who were terrified and acted like they'd never seen it, didn't know what happened with it.
Oh, they definitely hadn't. But I'm going to stop you there, because for all that I haven't seen most of this week of MasterChef, we could do a full feature-length episode on the 2 nights I have seen, because last night broke me, because it's the cultural appropriation for me.
The irony is not lost on the fact that the last podcast that I have actually done, given that last week wasn't a podcast, was the Japanese week episode of Bake Off with Chris.
Rage quit on Japan twice.
Where, it's the second time in 2 podcasts where there's been a rage quit involving Japan, because Japanese week in Bake Off was horrific. It was cultural appropriation all over the place. In fact, it wasn't even appropriate. They didn't even bother to make Japanese things. They just went vaguely Asian and left it at that. They got a master in, and his masterclass was great. Watching him, it was brilliant. He was very skilled, talking passionately about bento and all those sorts of things. They then went a bento challenge, and everyone just proceeded to make their own lunch boxes, which, as I said, Decor could have come in, given a talk for a third of the price. everyone would have known about storage options and sealing and how well your food stores in the fridge in a decor container. You could have got someone in from Tupperware. They could have made some money off the back of it.
Don't decor sell at Coles?
They do. So there we go. Like,
there you go.
Product placement would have been great. Instead, we got this poor guy in there to do all the stuff with the bento and then sent him away so he didn't see the great.
I was going to say, he bounced. As soon as they said there are no rules about cuisine, he went, nope, bye.
It's just...
Full respect to Chef Yomo for saving his own soul. If only he could have taken me with him.
What he did was brilliant. And then the only person who was like, oh, yes, I love it, was Tommy. And Tommy approached this challenge he approached it with all of the self-confidence of a middle-aged white man. And
but Chris, he lived in Japan for 2 years.
The second he said that, I knew he was screwing up.
And it was his night. It was his challenge to lose.
He used every single trope that we consistently say do not use. He hit all of them. And as a result, when he got up there for the judging, they were just like, first of all, I only had a problem with one part of the judging, which is when Andy said, isn't this a bit basic? And I'm like, no, it's a bento box, you idiot.
And Andy having the audacity to call anything or anyone basic, like... You know, that's why he had the big pocket on the t-shirt, to carry the audacity.
But like, I got what Tommy was going for, but it wasn't executed well. And it's again, that one moment is a byline for the whole series so far. Like, execution is terrible.
Yeah. I do love that they started the week with, you know, Mel going, this challenge is to meet the brief, because yes, I saw a little bit of Sunday Night. And so, you know, the whole thing was set up for the week to meet the goddamn brief. And then we got to Bento Box.
Where the brief didn't matter anymore. It became whose line is it anyway?
Screw the brief. Dipinda was making a tiffin, whether it fit the brief or not.
Yeah, she decided, very early on, I'm making a tiffin.
Yeah.
And look, I mean, at least it's vaguely related, but like, that's not the brief. It's not.
No, and you know, look, she was still closer to the brief than the anchovy donuts that had no anchovy. And we were all, I think I can speak for all of Twitter when I say we were pleased that there was no anchovy in them.
Otherwise known as donuts. But
yes.
I've gone out on a limb. I've made anchovy donuts, but there's no anchovies. I've made donuts. It's been the most bizarre week of MasterChef ever. I'm going to get to the bit that you didn't see.
Yeah, but go on, because I've heard about it from you 7 different ways.
Oh, haven't we all? So Tuesday night was a roller coaster for me. Tuesday night was an adventure. The highest of highs, the lowest of lows, the creamiest of middles. And it was... We had, obviously, we went into the challenge with Kirsten Tibbles. I've had big problems with the way they've used her before. I'm still bitter on behalf of Huda. You know, the chocolate wheel where they brought in, you know, one of Australia's best chocolatiers and made her a barrel girl in the challenge that Huda went home in. Then last season in Junior, I didn't like that challenge either. I wasn't a fan. It was a really good conversation we had on Twitter about Kirsten Tibbles, and it was basically sort of the general consensus among people was they shouldn't be using Kirsten Tibbles on elimination. They should be using her on immunity challenges. No one should go home off the back of, you know, not being able to do a design in chocolate. It should be a reward that you get rather than you're going home because you're not a master chocolatier.
Yeah.
Like, more than anything else, that's specialized and also the least about flavor. It's genuinely the least about flavor. Like when they were talking about, so in the challenge, they had to do the 3 different things. They had to do the lattice work in ruby chocolate. I'm getting sick of ruby chocolate. The lattice work in ruby chocolate, they had to make a cake, which it wasn't about the cake. It was actually about the fact you had to screen print a design on top of it. Some of it was arts and craft. It was an episode of Art Attack. And then you had the third part of it was 3 chocolate lollipops that you had to temper 4 different types of chocolate, put them in a bowl. So you had a big bowl of white chocolate, and then you had to do stripes of chocolate across it, dip the lollipop and twist it so you got a swirly pattern.
No.
Now, before I get any further, for a TV show that talks about wasting food and talks about not wasting food, it was about 1.2, 1.5 kilos of chocolate per bowl for 3 lollipops.
God.
That is waste.
Yeah.
And I really hope they did something with the chocolate afterwards, because that would have been really disgusting if they did that, only to coat 3 lollipops in a stripe. The challenge gets underway. Everyone's sort of going, and Dan, God bless Dan, I have no confidence when that man says that I feel like I know what I'm doing, that he actually does. I don't actually know what he's picked up. I like Dan. I think Dan's a good guy. I just don't know if he's seen a kitchen.
You might have seen one.
Kept
pulling him, or whether mum had a line that he wasn't allowed past. Different question.
Then we get to the crux of it, which is Therese is being very confident about how good she is with chocolate. And the more and more she was getting confident, I'm like, the hubris is strong here. This is going to end badly. And it got to about 10 minutes to go, and they started asking her about the pin. And she's like, no, I'm good. Then it got to about 5 minutes to go. And Jock walked over to her and, literally looking at her, said everything but the words, play the pin.
Mm-hmm.
And the people on the gantry were like, are you paying attention to the clock? Because, like, you're getting close. You might want to. At this point in time, the lollipops looked horrible. The screen printed worked, but she'd made the ruby chocolate lattice on top so thick that it was just breaking and crumbling and wasn't folding. It looked like a disaster zone. And she's going, no, I can do this. I didn't like the fact that Jock told her to use the pin, because, like, that, I don't like the fact you can use the pin at any time anyway. I don't like the pin.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. I liked it for the kids with the gong.
But that's different.
I'm not a fan of it with the pin, because you're freaking grown-ups. Like, make some choices.
And the problem is, so once you do that, you can't then tell them to use the damn thing.
Yeah.
And that's too much help.
But now, this is where I want to point out that in my ill-fated 5 minutes of tweeting yesterday night, where we worked out that I had definitely watched the wrong episode, I said very early on, within my 5 minutes of watching the wrong episode, that I knew that Therese was going home.
Yep.
Because even at the top of the episode, they spent far too much time on the judges going, you've got that pin, Therese? And her going, yes, I do. And them going, you're going to use it? And her going, no, I don't think I will. And them going, you sure? And her going, no, I think I'm good. Right at the top. The editing is so ham-fisted this year.
I mean, to be fair, it's the same as it has been every other year. Now, the drinking game card. Before I get to the end of the Therese thing, let's go to the drinking game card, because Australia, I am deeply sorry. Granita. Well, Sunday night. Now, my dirty little secret about MasterChef this week. Mother's Day was Sunday. Made a wonderful dinner for my mother who came over. We watched Spicks and Specks. I didn't watch MasterChef. I didn't catch it up. So I didn't watch Sunday. But you better believe I know what happened on Sunday. Why? My phone melted down when everyone saw the amount of fucking granitas. Because I took ice cream off the card and put granita on it.
The cucumber granitas.
At which point it was granita central.
And you nearly got us again tonight, because I reckon if she could have, Depinder would have done a smoked water granita.
I think we were close. We were really close. Hibachis, look, just drink already. Just, it's done. The Vespa was there a few nights. Flavor bomb. We heard the words flavor bomb. We'll come to the middle square in a minute. Someone makes a dessert out of savory ingredients. They didn't actually really do that later, but on Sunday night, I'm going to count the cucumber granita as that's it.
Although someone served a cucumber granita over pasta.
Yeah, we'll give that.
Yeah.
The word hero is said more times than I can count this week. Did we have a twirl? can't remember if he had a twirl. I'm assuming.
Well,
No, he did.
possibly.
He did. Andy didn't tell anyone that he didn't like cake this week, so that's growth. However, the 10-shot bonus. I saw the promos this week. I saw the editing in the promos this week, and I went, she's going home. So I put Therese goes home with the pin. So we get to the last minute, and everyone's gone from asking her questions about the pin to basically yelling at her, play the fucking pin. What are you doing? And the judges are looking at her going, and they're going 10, 9, and it was great. They're doing the countdown. And I think Andy or Jock looks at Mel and goes, she's not going to play this. Like, she's not going to. And she finished the cook. She didn't bother to look at anyone else. Now, why this is worse than the other twice. Now, it's happened twice. She said on the way out the door, oh, I Danny'd it. No, Loki was the originator of taking a pin home. But Danny and Loki didn't have the ability to stop the cook once it started. Once they started, that was it.
No, it will forever be called Theresing with the pin.
It will be. Now, she didn't at any point in time look around and go, what has everyone else done? Do I need to use this pin or not? And so she didn't bother to check what anyone else had done. She didn't bother to look at what she was doing and going, look, this might not be good. I need to. She had this idea that flavor would win out. And I'm like, you've just remelted chocolate. It's all the same flavor. There's no difference.
No.
And when they got to the judging, they brought it in. And by the time she brought it in, she'd seen everyone else's. And you could just tell from the look on her face, she was like, uh-oh, I'm in big trouble here. And she walked in and they sat down, they looked at her and they went, would you have played the pin now? And she looked at them and she didn't say a word. She just nodded very solemnly like, yes. Yes, so she knew instantly.
Yeah. Oh, she fucked it.
And Dan would have gone home had she played it. Not because he sucked. It looked like he was going to suck, but like he had his balls dropped, right? For want of a better term, his balls dropped. Now, if you're not watching this,
I'm enjoying this lack of context.
Yeah, no. You're not watching this will find this interesting. No, the lollipops had to hang upside down to get a spin on the bottom of it and a peak.
Yeah.
And so he dunked them and put the thing into the top holder to hold it to get the peak.
And they went bye-bye.
It just kept falling off the stick.
Yep.
So, Dan's balls kept dropping. And they all dropped. And then he turned them up the other way so they wouldn't drop anymore. But as a result of that, he would have gone home because the other two were fine. So Therese goes home. Winona went home on Sunday night. Both of these events, and in fact, the whole week goes back to, I think, the bigger issue of the Instagram nature of this series. This series is Instacooks.
Yeah.
And I'm more concerned about this by the day. Because you've got a lot of people who can cook on Instagram and can make food for Instagram, but you can take hours to do that and it just has to look pretty.
Yeah. It's okay. I can cook for Instagram too. I'm just not going to get on national TV and try to prove I can also cook food for, professional chefs and Andy.
Oh, zing. But, I mean, right, he was dressed like a hoodlum. So...
Oh, come on. And look, at least I do note that this season someone has taken him aside and gone, if you say the word banging, you're done.
I mean, look, I'm not going to lie. It might liven some of it up a bit.
Yes.
So the problem, and this is where I sort of want to see what you think about this. I think that the problem in the last few nights in particular goes back to that what I've said a few times, which is that they can talk MasterChef, but I don't know if anybody practiced any techniques.
I think a couple of them did. I think you're very right. I think Deepinder has well and truly got the chops. I'm not as convinced that Kishwa does as I was before.
Mm-hmm.
I am very, very pleased that Connor went into this competition with chaos and has followed that path, because it's actually well documented on Twitter that Connor is my favourite.
Yes.
For he is the pirate king.
He is. Hurrah for the
He-
Pirate King.
If anyone is curious and not in my brain, go and Google John English Pirate King and then get in touch with me on Twitter at Trubella and tell me I'm right, because I am.
Right.
But yeah, I think you're right. I think a few of them have a few skills, but all of them can make food look pretty and taste vaguely okay. And that's where we're at. And it's not great, especially after last year.
Well, Jock tonight at one point when it was well, it wasn't Pete's, it was Scott's. When Scott decided to rip the one thing that he'd got spot on about his fish off his fish, when he decided to take the charred skin, which is the good bit, and ripped it off because he went, it looked a bit burnt. So you had this pink fleshy fish with no char on it, which was anyway. And when Jock ate it, he looked at him and goes, that was surprisingly not too bad.
Yes. How shocked did he sound?
But secondly,
I quite enjoyed eating something during this cook. What's going on?
It wasn't even quite enjoyed. It was shockingly not too bad.
Oh, Jock.
Vaguely passable.
Yes.
And that's not MasterChef. It's not what the show should be.
No, and I think the next couple of weeks are going to be really interesting because we've lost. They're starting to knock off the weaker antelope from the herd, if you like.
Yes.
And we know it always, after like top 15, it always starts to really, really roll, and we're getting close. And it's all about to start to get a bit hectic for them, and it'll be interesting to see who's actually got the chops.
This is the thing. I think, so my concern is that Dipinder and Kishwa keep defaulting to cuisine, which is not a bad thing in terms
Dipinder
of...
can't do anything but cuisine. She cannot.
No. And again, I love showing it, but it's the same with everything else. It's that you've got to show a little bit of variance. I think Dipinder can show more variance than Kishwa can, and that's where I think Dipinder will go a bit further. I think I've got this, again, my theory is always the same. I talked about it last week on the Insta Live, which is that MasterChef is a show that runs in three. Right? There's a first wave, a second wave, and a third wave. It's very much like COVID. And
aren't we on about the seventh wave of that now? You're in Sydney.
I am. We had one case and we haven't had another one since. But what we're dealing with is the first wave has basically gone through now, right? And it's all of the very, very, very high profile people, save Brent, who is probably the outlier from the initial phase. And there's always one outlier from the initial phase. And by the way, Brent opening a beer for Scott
with a cook's knife
was spectacular, because first of all, Scott wasn't looking for a bottle opener. He was looking for a beer opener. And then that was the most stereotypical thing I'd ever seen. Then Brent opens it with a knife and goes, there you go, mate, there's your beer. And I'm like, that's the most stereotypical thing I've ever seen. And then Scott, almost as though he felt the need to say it, looked and went, I could feel like a beer right now. And I'm like, no.
He could have just had a swig. It would have had big, wine out of a measuring cup energy. But he had to be fair
in that challenge, yes. So I think that what I've enjoyed is, he's the outlier from the first wave. The second wave now, you're starting to see Scott has appeared. Justin has appeared a few times.
Yeah. Where did Justin come from?
Justin had been in one earlier episode. I thought he was going home because he randomly appeared out of nowhere with a full backstory, which usually means going home, and then he smashed it. So Justin has now appeared. So this is the second wave now.
Yeah.
The third wave, there are people in there that you still look at the screen and you go, I don't know who you are.
Yeah, there was one girl tonight, blonde, couldn't tell you her name.
Yeah, she's the one from Tasmania. I said early on that it wouldn't shock me if she's one of the ones in like the last five, because I just get this feeling that, again, we usually get the late one emerges who's going to sort of charge past everyone.
Yeah.
It's one of the ones we haven't really seen a lot of yet. They're going to be the one to make that charge. I liked Jess appearing a bit more tonight. I like Jess.
Yeah, I like Jess appearing more, but I feel like it means her days are numbered.
Oh, completely.
Yeah.
I mean, I fear deeply for Deepinder because they did tonight say she's the one to beat. As I said last week with Therese, before everything else happened, when they start doing promos and saying you're the one to beat, they've got about a week and a half, 2 weeks before they're gone.
Yeah.
So Deepinder could be in a bit of trouble.
Yeah, and it'll be because they ask her to cook something that she can't cook.
Now,
you know it. I know it. There are a few more that I'm going to be happy to see go when they go.
Yes, I have a couple, and one of them I know for a fact is the same person.
Yes.
My other big takeaway out of this week is production's scrambling. I actually feel a little bit like productions become nervous about what they've actually got on screen. And I say this because the master class idea at the start of each episode is a really good idea. But it just, the way they're producing it and the way that they're talking about the food and the way that they're showing what's going on, it's almost like they're steering into the skid of the problems. And they're like, you know, there's a lot of problems here. Let's just steer into it and talk about it. And the fact that the other night they saved one of the teams from elimination in what was supposed to be the pasta cook by their third course dessert being great, which was a sorbet in a pasta cook.
No,
that's not what the challenge was, but we sent them the third one. They changed it. I actually think they might be adjusting on the fly as they go behind the scenes and maybe giving them slightly different instructions to sort of make the challenges feel a bit better.
Yeah, but then they're adjusting in the judging too.
Yes.
Because I like, even going back to the bento boxes, cultural appropriation aside, to me, bento says lunchbox. To me, it says portable.
Yes.
One person in that immunity cook tonight made a fucking puree and dumped it in their bento box, and one made a custard of some description. Neither of those things are portable.
The custard I don't have as much problem with, because the custard is actually something that you do occasionally, because it was the Japanese custard.
Oh yeah.
And it is the one you can find in a bento box. So I was okay with that. The puree I wasn't.
No, the puree made me a bit violent. But then he also did char lettuce. So, you know, I can feel it. Every time I mention it, I can feel it in my mouth, and it's not good.
You go to say the words charred lettuce, and you're just like, I can sense that.
Slimy, Chris. I don't like it.
I'm aware, but it's like tonight was. You could almost see a little bit in tonight of. I got the feeling, and I don't know if everyone else had this feeling, that everyone was going through the motions a little bit tonight. Like everyone was applauding everything, even when it was failing. Like even Deepinder, who won the immunity quite easily tonight, and like it wasn't a challenge. As Homer Simpson once famously said, default, the two sweetest words in the English language. But when Deepinder got to the trying to make the naan, and she took the naan and threw it on a hot burning coal.
And then went, no, I don't know what happened.
Walked away, came back and went, it appears to be burning, and also it appears to be covered in charcoal. You put it on burning charcoal.
Hurt my feelings with that one.
What did you think was going to happen?
No, she hurt my feelings with that one. She hurt my feelings with that one. Jess hurt my feelings by saying the words, I'm going to make a taco. I'm sorry, what? In a fire challenge?
I know. And Scott, I mean, Scott had a few moments. The fact that he'd never heard of prawns wrapped in bacon was interesting.
Yeah, no.
That's a brand new idea. I've never thought of the idea of doing prawns in bacon.
And yet he still didn't hurt me as much as smoked water.
Oh, okay. We need to
come back to it. We need to keep, because I'm sitting next to a MasterChef novice who yelled the words. Has she never thought of putting lime in water? How is she just hearing about flavoured water now?
I mean, let's be realistic here. Smoked water. It's called steam.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's steam, and the idea of doing these oysters and like this new technique, and it's like they put the oysters in the shell on the fire and use the juices. They boiled the oysters in their own shells. That's not a new technique.
But these are people who've never made a marshmallow melty, and it shows.
And by the way, people in there saying they've never used fire tonight, I've seen them use hibachis.
Yeah, true. Over and over and over and over again.
If ever there was a challenge designed for MasterChef contestants, it was use fire to cook.
I did find it interesting, though, that you didn't see as much of the judges did the initial wander around, find out what everyone's cooking, and then they didn't.
They didn't.
Because it was like they went, oh, no, you're if we come, you're going to, okay, we're going to lose eyebrows and we can't, okay, cool. We're walking away and standing in a corner with Scott, what's his name, who was rude.
So my biggest thing I sort of took out of tonight, it was the way that Melissa Leon gave her feedback.
Mm-hmm.
When they came up and was like, and it was Jess who tried all the native stuff, and they went, I'm going to the condong this, and I'm going to do this, and they came up. And Mel goes, I like that you tried those flavors, and I like that you were thinking about those flavors. That was it. There was no follow-up to that, which is code for what the hell is this crap? This is not good. This didn't work. Instead, she was like, I'm encouraged that you're thinking.
Mm-hmm.
I give the same feedback all the time to people who write really bad essays.
Now, did you vote? Did you put your hand up for the vote where I voted that no one is allowed to use a kwandong until they can enunciate it on TV?
I think they need to keep using it because it's amusing.
Because
deeply amusing.
There was a big old consensus of everyone on Twitter tonight saying, I keep hearing condom salsa.
I mean, what a flavor.
Depends which kind you get, honestly.
Flavor and technique, ladies and gentlemen. Flavor and technique. That's a technique and a half. If you can do that into a salsa, you deserve to be on MasterChef, folks. But I don't feel like I've spent enough time wondering why Pete pureed his potatoes.
No,
in fact, I don't think I've spent enough time tonight just wondering why Pete.
Why is Pete?
I like Pete a lot.
Yeah, you do.
But tonight he got so far on my nerves. Yeah. I have said to you previously, I really like Pete, but it also feels like if I spent longer than an hour having a conversation, I'd be done.
10 minutes and you'd be done with him.
Tonight was an example of overthinking everything.
Yeah.
Not one thing, overthinking something and then overthinking the thing you just overthought.
But this is the thing. He didn't say it, but being that the masterclass was set up as food wankery with basic fire, and Pete loves a food wank, this was his challenge to win.
It really was.
Did not. He could have, he could have circle jerked his way into some magic, and yet he just snatched defeat from the jaws of victory really, really quickly.
Now,
because he pureed his potato.
The number of people tonight that took the smoky element out of the smoky food. Like we had the skin ripped off the fish. I don't know why. We had the potato turned into a puree, and then again, eucalyptus is going to take everything out of it.
And he put the smoky skins into milk.
Yes.
I'm so confused.
Now, what is that going to do, of course, to the smoky flavor?
It's going to kill it.
Now, I can't remember which one, but at one point there was a suggestion that the food resembled less food and more like candles.
Yes, yeah. Tourist shop candle, 100%. Yeah. So much eucalyptus.
And it was just what got to me tonight was I think, as I said, everyone in the audience has gone with them. We've gone with them on everything so far. Even when it's gone, this is a bit crap, we've gone, yeah, but they'll get there. And this week, it feels like every time we've got to the next step, there's been another punch. And everyone in the audience has gone, oh, that wasn't good. Okay, they'll get it tomorrow. They'll nail it tomorrow. The Tuesday night episode with Therese going home with the pin was probably the best episode of the week, which is saying something. It was all about the pin. Last night was infuriating. And tonight, I've not seen an audience turn harder.
No.
Because it was basically, the rest of it's been, oh, but I can understand because like the inspiration of Japanese food. Or I can understand because I can understand. Tonight, everyone just looked at it and went, you're using flames. Why are you struggling? It's fire.
Yeah.
Have you not been in a hot kitchen?
Yeah, everyone's patience is really running out this season because we keep waiting for it to get good and we keep trusting the process, and then the process turns around and karate kicks us in the face.
I think the process is a really good way to describe it. I am desperately hoping we see a corner turned.
God, I hope so.
We need one.
I just think we're going to have to stick it out for top 10 for it to come, and that's a few weeks away yet.
I'm not even sold on that.
Yeah.
I'm not.
I don't.
And I want it to turn. I want it to be brilliant. I want it to. There is potential. There is potential in a bunch of these people. Like we said before, Connor has potential.
I love him.
Dipinda has a lot of potential to make this really good. There's 5 or 6 in there that have potential to be really good. Unfortunately, if they can't put it together soon, there are large sections of the audience who are now starting to openly on Twitter ask, how are they here?
Yeah.
And it's not their fault. This is the thing I need everyone to understand when we're talking about this. None of this is the contestants.
No, it's the production.
Production, if they've got problems with what's going on, the production needs to put them in a spot to look good. And if there were bigger problems there, then they've got to reevaluate their casting. And I know they'll try to use COVID as the reason, and they probably will try to use COVID as the reason why there might be some issues here and there. My counter to that is the Great Canadian Baking Show managed to cast an entire season on Zoom without being in person. And it ended up being one of, if not the best season of Bake Off that's existed.
Yeah.
So you can do it if you're clever. And I just worry they got a bit lazy on the food and on the production. And
well, I mean, and I feel like laziness is it. This has been Channel 10's flagship for so long that they just trust that they're going to have the audience and they don't think they have to try. They also, I think, were expecting a bit more goodwill from the judges off the back of Back to Win than they've really gotten.
I think the thing is the judges did a really good job on Back to Win and the judges did a really good job on Junior.
Yeah.
But they can't carry a show where the contestants aren't good.
No. And they don't have the patience to. You can see Jock's patience waning with every day.
Yeah, Jock, how Jock hasn't snapped so far. And look, I even feel sorry for Andy. And I never thought I'd say that in a million years.
When What's-His-Face brought Jock carbonara that was not carbonara early in the week.
When there was lemon in it and...
Yeah, I genuinely thought Jock was going to throw the plate across the room and do a Gordon Ramsay.
It would have been within his rights.
Yeah, it would have been excellent just quietly. I would have loved it.
See, the other reason I feel sorry for Andy in this situation is that Andy's been on the other side of that. Andy knows what the contestants go through. And Andy's looking at this going, you guys have got to be better than this.
Yeah.
Like, you've got to be better than this. And there's a complete lack of, like, they can't think outside of the immediacy of what's going on, to the point where we're seeing so many dishes recreated that have either been in the middle of what they did on the masterclass. So like we've now had about 5, or tonight there was fish, which was done because I was really inspired by the fish I saw 5 minutes ago. So I've never cooked seafood, but the fish inspired me, which is code for I didn't really know what to cook and he cooked a fish.
Yeah.
That's becoming far too common.
Yeah. But come on. It's Scott's first week. He's still getting in the swing of things. Sorry, last one.
Still getting used to it. But this is the problem. They're copying so much stuff that they've seen on the show 5 minutes before then.
Tommy, last night, I'm still violent about the fact that he didn't go. I'm going to expand on what Chef Yomo has taught me and what I have learnt from 2 years of living in Japan and cook something Japanese but quite fresh and new that is my own take. What he did was go, I'm going to recreate what Chef Yomo just put in front of me.
Notice they haven't called anything an invention test.
Yeah, no, they're smart. This lot can't invent.
I want the invention. I'm not seeing it.
I miss the invention. I also miss mystery boxes in their proper form because they were comedy gold. But that's just...
they are comedy gold.
They are comedy gold. Just for the phrase, I hope I get tested by the judges this week. I can't wait to have the judge taste my box.
I can't wait to lift. I can't wait to lift my box for the judges, and feast on the gooey insides. But it's...
Oh, come on.
Okay. Get over it. So ultimately, I think this week goes down as disappointing.
Yes.
And if I had to use one word to describe it, I would say drunken.
Well, all I've got is whelmed.
Whelmed.
You know, you can be overwhelmed and you can be underwhelmed. Can you ever just be whelmed? I think you can in Europe.
I think you're whelmed. So,
that's about where I'm at. I'm whelmed with MasterChef this year.
So there we go. TT is whelmed, and I think that's a fair way to take this podcast out. Thank you very much for joining us. Anything you want to plug before we finish?
You know, you'll see me on Twitter. I tweet under Truvella. I'll be here chatting about the whole thing and making fun of everyone's outfits and general patterns of speech.
I have absolutely zero doubt of that. Thank you very much for joining us. It's been an absolute delight as always to have a chat.
Thank you for having me.
I'm Chris. I will see you next week. I promise I will keep this up. Christy's the smart one. I will catch you all later.